192 of those 573 calls, which represents 33%, were dispatched to addresses owned by that person in the city. So those were owner-occupied calls. So I think if we're going to talk disproportionate fees, then we ought to charge the owners a disproportionate fee for calling the police so much. Because only 59 of those calls were dispatched to either business owners or some type of alarm or a non-owner occupied property. So our police are spending their time traffic stops and owner occupied calls. And then there's a 2% margin where it's out in front of the school, or it's there's a couple of disturbances and the address came up as Weber, either a church parking lot or a Weber County school address. So I just put those as questionable, but 16 of those calls were to that. So that was my thing, is what the benefits were, the administration of what for the landlords, and the actual calls themselves. But here's the balance of the calls there. So it's overwhelmingly to the owners of the traffic stops and to the owners. For this calls.
Can I just say something just real quick? And I try to do this because I get worked up about this, and you want to do it right. This is a big issue, and I try to say this in the spirit of humility. I'm just concerned about it because I've talked to lots of business owners here in the city, and tons of them have said, I haven't had any police calls in 3 years. Oh, I've had one police call in the last 2 years. Tons of them, most of them. There's not tons of police calls going into most of these businesses. I've talked with them, and it just concerns me. Sincerely, it does. And so if I've ruffled any feathers, I apologize for that, but I don't apologize for where I stand, because I am concerned about it.
And that list, other than the time period and going with their legal department back and forth to get, well, only $170. So there was no big cost in it. I just had to pay for their time to research it, copy it, and go pick it up down.
It's every one of them.
How many calls went to for the landlords?
For the month of January, and you can look on February and March, and the numbers don't change much. Only 10% of the police calls were dispatched to non-owner occupied properties and businesses, and several of them were. There was some alarm holdup. There was a holdup at IHC. I think had more calls than actual Smiths in that quarter there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Do more fees. I don't want to vote for this either, but the city has done a study that showed about 100% of the costs for the police department, there's this fraction that's come from the business. And so the disproportionate cost of that is X. From that, then we're saying, because of the business's higher property tax, because of the sales tax revenue, because of the benefits, we're implementing a fraction of the fraction that was recommended by the study. And it's going to put us in many cases much lower than surrounding communities in our county that have thriving business areas. So I think it is, sure, in a perfect world, we don't want any taxes. We don't want any fees. But I think for what it is, it's very reasonable. And if we also make a commitment that we're going to do some enhanced services, I think that makes it a better situation for our businesses. Sure, it's still money out of their pocket. We understand that. But it reduces that effect by investing it into our community. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Can we vote?
No way.
Ron?
No.
Martha, yes. Brent?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2. Thank you.